In second grade, you learned about 3 states of matter. You learned about solids, liquids, and gases. So in this next unit that we're about to tackle, you're going to learn about how these 3 states of matter are incorporated into the water cycle. Now you're also going to learn about 3 more vocabulary words: condensation, evaporation, and precipitation. Now the water cycle doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. It does have a certain order in which the water flows, but you can start at any point that you would like in the water cycle. What I want to do with you today is I want to draw the water cycle as we discuss what is happening in the water cycle. Where I want to start with is at with the main source of the water cycle. And the main source of the water cycle is the sun. And the reason why the sun is important is because the sun heats the water up down below. And when it heats the water up down below, it then begins to evaporate. Now, I'm going to put this word, evaporate, right here on my picture to show where the evaporation happens. Now, the gas that is caused by evaporation is called vapor. And if you look real close at evaporation, the word vapor is in there. So it kind of helps you remember kind of what's happening with evaporation, that it is causing a gas. So evaporation causes a liquid to become a gas. And what happens is as this gas rises into the air, it gets cooler and cooler. And as it gets cooler and cooler, you have what's called condensation. Condensation, I'm going to put up here. Now, condensation, you might know it better as when you are sitting in a restaurant with your family, or you just have this nice cold drink at home, and all of a sudden you start to see these little droplets of water on the outside of your cup. Well, that's condensation as well. That's the gases that are outside in the air is now turning into little droplets of water because it's so cold when that air hits it that it turns back into a liquid. So that is the air turning back into liquid, which is condensation. Now, in the water cycle, condensation is going to be a cloud. Here's the thing about the clouds though, right? Water is clear, but clouds sometimes are white, sometimes they're gray, sometimes they almost look pink too. Well, we're going to talk about that later in another lesson, but I want you to keep those things in mind because it's very important for you to always question. And I want you to think about why that is, and we're going to get back to that later. So just think about those things, and we'll talk about it at another lesson. But for right now, just know that condensation is a cloud. Now, after condensation, we have what is called precipitation. So precipitation is going to have three different ways that it can precipitate, right? So we have snow, hail, rain, and sleet. I'm going to go ahead and put that over here. We have precipitation over here. So some people might wonder, and I've had a lot of people ask me before, what is sleet? Sleet is kind of a combination of rain and ice. So I think some of us have been here and remember some of the snowstorms and things that we've had. We haven't had a lot. Every so often we may have some snow, but it doesn't happen very often. Just a couple of days ago, we did have some hail, which hail is balls of ice. And then, of course, rain. We've all seen some rain here. So after precipitation, we have runoff. Now, with this runoff, it can go in several different directions, and it can become groundwater, and then it's an aquifer, and we're going to learn some more about those things as well later on in this unit. But eventually, the water ends up being evaporated again, and it starts all over again in this cycle. So we have evaporation, we have the sun that heats up the water, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and it starts all over again. Now, remember the beginning of this lesson? I stated that there were 3 states of matter that you learned in 2nd grade: solids, liquids, and gases. Let's look at our water cycle. Where do you think the gas would come from? I kind of gave you a hint already earlier. The gas would be right here with vapor. When it is being evaporated, we're going to see that vapor. And where would our liquid be? Let's think about it for a moment. Our liquid is going to be here with our water before it is evaporated, and it can also be here with the rain as it's coming down, or even with condensation, because we know that with condensation that the vapor is turning back into a liquid, right? So we know that. Where would our solid be? Solid could be right here with snow, hail, and even sleet. So, I hope you've learned something today about the water cycle. Bye.